Hey guys, Tucker with My Investing Mentor. Thanks for taking the time to check out this most recent In the Trenches video. I'm out here today at one of our more recent rehab projects. This one just went on the market this past week for a whopping $800,000. The place really turned out nice. You can see the nice stone wall there. One of my favorite parts of it, that we put up the stone there to make it really feel like an estate. But great looking house. Place turned out really nice. We've got a lot of buyers interested in the property already, even with it being such a high dollar property. So really good to see that happen this quickly, especially when you put a rehab on the market around Christmas and Thanksgiving. But the reason why we are having this In the Trenches video today is to talk about negotiation skills. We have another house that we purchased just around the corner from this one that is also an older house. And when I purchased that property, it was one of those houses where the seller had probably talked to just about everybody in town at some point or another, trying to get numbers from them, and they were kind of like the eternal shoppers. They wanted more money for their property than anybody was probably going to give them, but they wasted so much time and energy talking to everybody that by the time I actually got to them, they were ready to sell the property. So it worked out just timing wise on this particular lead. I found it from driving for dollars. I was actually driving through this neighborhood when we were working on the rehab project that we're sitting in front of right now. Sent them a letter, they gave me a call, we set an appointment, and we were able to just kind of go from there. So what I did is I gave them an initial price that, after talking with them, I knew that they would probably accept. I was able to get some numbers out of them as far as what kind of range the offers had come in on. What kind of range the numbers for the other offers had come in. So that way I kind of have an idea of what they would consider acceptable at this point. So I gave them a price that was not the highest price, not the lowest price, but given how long they'd been spinning their wheels trying to sell this thing, I figured that they would probably accept it. And turns out I was right. So I got the contract. We then proceeded forward, but on that contract I had two contingencies. The first one was if the sewer lines messed up at all, I would be renegotiating on price. And the second one is if there's any oil contamination from the underground oil tank that's in the yard, I would be renegotiating. And with a lot of these older houses in our market here, the sewer lines are generally always messed up to some degree. The sellers don't always know that, but for the most part, there's going to be problems with the sewer line in one way or another. The other thing is with underground oil tanks, you can pretty much bet on the fact that you're at least going to have to decommission it, which is going to cost you anywhere between $800 and $1,200. On the other end, you may have some major soil contamination that could cost you anywhere between $4,000 and $8,000 to clean up. So this house didn't have an oil tank under the ground, but the other one did, and so I said, hey, I'll give you this price, but if the sewer line's messed up or if the oil tank has leaked over time, we're going to have to renegotiate on our price. So after getting the sewer scoped and getting the soil sampled, turns out both the sewer line was just in complete disarray. It had collapsed in a couple different sections. The sewage wasn't even making it to the main in the street, and the oil tank in the backyard was leaking pretty heavily too, so it had quite a bit of contamination. So what I did is I went back to him. I said, hey, it's going to cost probably around $8,000-ish to clean up the oil contamination, which would be about right if you were to actually dig out all of the contamination. Fortunately, we were able to do what we call a risk-based cleanup, which is essentially just filing a report with DEQ for about $3,000, and that pretty much eliminates any issues. On to the sewer line, I said, hey, this is going to cost us probably, I don't know, $6,000 or $7,000 because we're going to have to tear up some stairs and do some other stuff. And they said, okay. So I then ended up asking for a full reduction of about $25,000 because I said, hey, if we're going to have to deal with these repairs, we want to be able to make a little bit of additional profit for putting out that money and time and just the effort that goes into essentially tearing up an entire yard. And they said, okay, after a little bit of negotiating. So we ended up getting the property for $25,000 less than what we had originally had it on contract for. And once we do the repairs that I had as my contingency repairs, we'll probably get them done for somewhere around $6,000. So we'll be widening our profit margin on that deal by about 18 or 19 grand. So when you're out there negotiating with sellers, make sure you keep a couple contingencies that you can use to negotiate a little better price for yourself if maybe you feel like you need to on the rehab side, or if your wholesale margin isn't quite big enough. Leave yourself a couple of options to be able to negotiate a little bit more and get that seller to come down on their price. And usually by the time you get far enough into the sales process, they're just going to want to be done with it, and a few grand one way or the other really isn't going to matter too much to them. So anyway, this is Tucker with My Investing Mentor. Remember to get out there and start negotiating with sellers, and make sure that you use those two contingencies to your advantage to try and get a better buy on properties here as we head into the slower months for the holidays and whatnot. We'll see you next time.